What's going on, my lovely people? Back with another episode. You already know what time it is. It's time to get judgment free with NB3. Okay, I'm your host, Nelson Bernard III. So, for this month's episode, we're going to dive into a little thing called grace and mercy. Okay, so this month of June has been action packed, to say the least, very eventful, very emotional. And the common theme through all of this, through every situation or everything I witnessed or was a part of, or just either heard of, was the ability to give grace and mercy, not only to others, but to self, right? Because again, we're all humans, we all have emotions, we all have things that we got going on throughout this life. Life is life into everybody. But at the end of the day, you cannot forget to show self and others around you grace and mercy. That's how we get through it, right? Because if we didn't show grace and mercy, we all would shut down and wouldn't be functional, and nobody want to be around you or want to work with you, right? So I'm going to hit a couple of key points, things that I thought about or has happened during this month, regards to grace and mercy. Okay, so first and foremost, shout out to my stepson for my new intro video that y'all just saw, right? I got a lot of feedback from my family and friends, and I've been listening to their ideas just like this. So he helped me bring it to life. So shout out to my stepson TJ. Check his music out. He's on Instagram as a Broken Child. That's the stage name, BRKN Child, right? On all platforms you can stream music and stuff. So it's pretty good. I'm not just saying it because he's my stepson, but I actually listen to it myself. So, but he did the beat and did the videos and everything for me. I just kind of gave him a direction, a vision, and he took it and ran with it. So, shout out to him, and then all my family and close friends who suggested and pushed me to unlock new levels when it comes to content making and video making or whatever. This is more like a hobby for me, more like a therapy for me, right? So I don't know where this is gonna go, how people see this, view this, So I just know that I want to be consistent and I want to give good content and something that's relevant to actual life, real life people, especially my black men out there, because I am a black man. So, uh, so just thank you for the support. For those who have, with the likes and shares and comments and subscribing, I appreciate it. I really didn't have a vision when I started this, this channel. But throughout experiences and advice, I'm coming into my own. I'm sure y'all can start to see that if you go from my first video to now, the evolution of it. And I'm excited, and it's only gonna get better when I start college, TSU for counseling, deep dive into something that I'm real passionate about. So I'm sure that's gonna seep into the videos at some point. But I just want to just give the early shout out and early thanks to all the supporters and people who follow me, whether I know you or don't know you. What I will say, I'm not gonna stop, okay, regardless. Okay, so, but yeah, so one of the key things that happened this month, right? So my stepkids, man, they got into this big blowout. I mean, it was nonsense to me, of course, but I'm much older, right? But the fact is that it disrupted the household to the point where I was outside and I can hear them yelling and screaming from outside. So I come in right now when it comes to mercy and grace, right? Granted, I didn't know what was going on and all the commotion and everything. I could have just been on some, this is my house, shut up, what I'm saying? And I don't care what's going on, but I didn't come with that energy, right? Because you want to de-escalate, you want to get down to the bottom of what's going on, right? So I separated them and asked each of them, their side of the story, what's happening, what's going on. Gave them what they did wrong, and as far as reactions and how they went about it, right? But didn't judge, right? But then I showed mercy and grace because I could have just came in and been like, you know what? I don't care what y'all got going on. I don't want to hear it. You disrupted my peace in my house. So y'all can either, squash it or y'all can kick rocks with no shoes and socks. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? So, but there are people that's like that, just like, it's whatever. But knowing, that I have a duty and responsibility as a step parent, and just as a parent in general, right? To just understand, you know, validate, feelings and look at facts, right? And keep it pushing because, we all human at the end of the day, right? Whether I felt it was nonsense or stupid, right, or not, right? They felt it was something serious. So, you know, I entertained it just to see, what information can I gather from all of this, right? But like I said, at the end of the day, you gotta, you know, keep the peace, as much as possible because everybody's not gonna see eye to eye. Everybody's not gonna, agree. So that's not really the goal necessarily. But it's at the same time, while you're disagreeing, while you're not seeing eye to eye, you can definitely keep it cordial. You can definitely, keep it respectable. All right. And I'm real big on that. No matter how you feel towards somebody, respect. You gotta, have respect because that can de-escalate. That can escalate the situation very quickly, just off of that fact alone, you know. But when you slide mercy and grace in there, right? I didn't disrespect none of them, right? They were, hooping and hollering, cursing and everything, but as the mature male adult, the head of the house, I had a duty to, de-escalate and figure out a solution so we can move forward, with life. Not peaches and cream, but at the same time, move forward as reasonable, responsible, mature adults, right? So I guess, my last video, 2 videos ago, I was talking about, my stepkids and how I want to treat them as though they were my own and I want somebody to treat them the same way, my kids the same way, So I guess God's really testing, about, the step parenting and my counseling journey because I'm so excited about starting this counseling journey, going to school and stuff, right? So I guess he's listening to me as I'm putting this stuff out in the ethers, all right? So like I said, I'm getting tested as well, y'all. So it's not, it ain't just, easy, smooth sailing, because I'm retired or whatnot. It's still tests and things that I'm, you know, passionate in, so that was a big piece in, this past month, right? June. And of course, I'm not real big on holidays, but it's Father's Day, right? And for y'all who know my situation with my daughters, so it's a touchy subject, right? So it's not necessarily the Father's Day holiday in particular, but you can see the Mother's Day celebrated, right? And then it come Father's Day, and it's like I can't have no contact with them, and I can't reach out to them, so like that, and they're not reaching out to me either. So it's like, man, So when I tell y'all, I have to give myself mercy and grace every day when I wake up because I think about, the times, oh, I ain't there, oh man, and that creeps up. So I have to give myself mercy and grace to understand it's not my fault that it's like that, the situations like this in particular, right? But at the end of the day, it's life. There's not too much I can do about it at this particular moment, but it still doesn't mean that I'm not human and I don't feel, right? So I have to give myself mercy and grace every single day, because I miss them and I ain't been around them. It's been a year since I've talked to them on the phone and whatnot, and it's crazy because I thought about this as well too. And it's a couple of videos back, I talked about my child support situation where in November of 2023, I was going to stop paying child support because at that point I hadn't seen my kids in like a year and a half. I'm still paying, and the way I was going to do it was crazy because I know who I'm married to, so I couldn't do it just up front like, yeah, I'm finna stop paying child support. You know what I'm saying? That's it and that's all. No, it was like, I didn't pay the month before because I was, retirement was kicking in. So, I didn't get paid that month. So that was the only month that I missed, right? And it felt good not to send that money, you know? And so November came and I was started getting paid again. And then I was like, man, I'm tired of this, man. I want to see my kids. I don't want to pay until I see my kids. So I just kept quiet. I didn't say nothing to my wife. I was like, I ain't gonna say nothing, I was gonna just let it go like that, the passive aggressive. So, the month came around and she was like, you pay child support? And as soon as she asked me that question, I just put my head down because like ain't no line, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no line. We have joint accounts, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, no, man, like I don't want to pay, you know what I'm saying? I'm tired. I want to see my kids. And she was like, baby, I understand. Trust me, I do, but that's not the man I married. And so we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. And y'all, the reason why I didn't tell her that was my plan because I knew that she wasn't gonna go for it. I knew she was gonna talk me out of it. I knew it, right? I call myself trying to be slick, man. And of course, she was right, and it hurt, man. It hurt. The fact that she was right, you know. So, man, I went upstairs and I took a shower, man, and it just came over me, man. I just cried, man, like kind of like it was like a scene in in Boys in the Hood when Trey was punching the air and stuff. I'm sick and tired of this. It was like that for real, because I really was. I said myself, I was saying like I was sick and tired of doing the right thing and not getting no results. I got tired of paying for what, for nothing, for what. So I broke down in the shower and then watched it downstairs. So she didn't know about it. And then I got in the bed. And then the next morning when she came checked on me, and it just came over me again, cried again. I told her what I was feeling after, she confronted me about the child support thing, and just let her know, let it out how I felt, and, it felt good to let it out, right? And to let her know how I feel. But at the same time, when I say mercy and grace, y'all, I don't regret feeling like that. I don't regret, but at the same time, I give myself mercy and grace for feeling that way because I am human. I may have it all together when y'all see me or when I present myself, but behind the scenes, I get tested, and I have to give myself mercy and grace not to beat myself up, not to, go crazy, right? So I don't take that back. I don't take that feeling back. I don't take that attempt back. I don't take it back at all. But I do give myself mercy and grace for feeling that way for that moment, and succumbing to going to the dark side. She grabbed me about the abyss, right? And that's what your helpmate, your partner, you know, your confidant is you're supposed to do that. So she did her job, what I'm saying? So I couldn't be mad at her. I couldn't be mad at her. I was just mad that like I couldn't get away with it. If I'm being honest, right? So I couldn't be mad at her, but she did her job. She kept me, level. She kept me grounded, right? So that's very, very, very important. So again, I apply mercy and grace to myself every single day, right? So it makes it easy for me to give it to other people. When I see people struggling or not right, and it's just, I feel, and I think a lot of us is missing that empathy piece to feel, feel, So, and it's crazy because I'm not saying I don't validate my feelings or I don't validate other people's feelings, for feeling a certain way, but at the same time, right? It's the way you do it. You don't want to, throw the grenade, as I tell my wife recently. Like I'll be like, don't throw the grenade because they no taking that back. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But you can still address things. You can still feel some type of way without, blowing the spot up, right? Case in point, I'm gonna bring y'all back again. Like, so if y'all go back and watch my retirement speech, I spoke for like 48 minutes, right? And I had a lot to get off my chest, and I had a lot of gripes with my unit at the time that I was retiring from, and certain people in that unit. I didn't call no names out; they were in attendance, but at the same time, I said it in a way to where, like, I have an issue. I'm still gonna respect you because that's just who I am in the core, but at the end of the day, you know I'm talking about you. And the crazy part is when I got done talking, and you know how to do you do the handshakes and greets and everything, the meets and greets. The first three people who got up that shook my hand was the ones I was talking about. And they was like, hey man, I'm sorry, saying they apologize, saying? So that lets you know, right, that their conviction, right? That their conviction. But I, but to me, the disrespect because I'm mad or I'm irritated or something go my way, that's not who I am anyway, right? But I understand why people do it. I understand why people do it. I'm always trying to give somebody the mercy and grace because you never know what they have going on for them to act like that or to be like that, right? Most people don't care. Most people just won't care, like, man, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They did me wrong. Okay. I get that, but it's always a side to it, right? So those are examples right there, that I look back to and, that I have to give myself mercy because I don't regret anything I said in my speech. I mean, I double and triple down on what I said and I meant what I said. But at the same time, I give myself mercy and grace. The fact that you was right to feel that way. But are you going to let that control you? Are you going to let that, have you treat people any kind of way or differently because you feel that way or because you felt wrong, right? Or because something happened that was unpleasant, right? So you have to keep that in check. It is very important to have that for self first and foremost, because if you don't have it for self, it's hard to give it to other people. And that's what humanity is lacking right now. Empathy, sympathy. It's just it's just running rampant to where it's like people don't care about what people are going through and why, because they got stuff going on. I understand it, but it takes the time to listen and like try to understand at least, to empathize, sympathize a little bit. It ain't always about us in particular. But again, you gotta be open and willing and to understand it's not always about you. All right. Even though may have the power to make it about you and to do whatever, is that the right move though? Because it has long lasting effects at the end of the day. You know, like the way I handle my stepkids, it's a difference between them liking me, them not liking me, them hating me, them loving me, right? It's how I treat them, right? It's not pretty much what I approach them, but it's like how I approach them being young adults, So you have to always keep that in mind. And then recently, I mean, this happened a couple of days ago, like, so when I talk about mercy and grace, y'all, this touched me. This had me almost in tears. It almost broke down just watching this whole scenario. So we was at the church at Gospel Hill Baptist Church this past Saturday, and we was getting ready for the installation for our pastor, my brother-in-law, John Calhoun Jr. Okay, and we were sitting there talking. Him sitting there talking, and this older black guy come in and just walks in the church, and we was all in there working and getting things together. And he was already like kind of on edge emotionally. You could smell the alcohol or whatnot. He kind of went back there where the ladies and the children were, right? So, the men kind of like, Tina was up like, yo, who's that? You know what I'm saying? So we kind of went back there and he was just kind of like, yeah, I need some help, Like, I know churches where people can, if they sick, they can get help, Like, he was real, like, intense. So we got him, toward the sanctuary where the pastor was at, and the men was at, right? We kind of corralled around him, and my brother-in-law, he went into action, like, because he's pretty much asking for prayer. He was been struggling, so he started praying, right? He started doing his thing, right? And I was sitting there watching, right? Because I'm still military minded, Marine Corps, so I'm looking, observing, right? But at the same time, as he's praying for him, I see him crying. I see the man crying and just like really shaking and breaking down. Like, so I was like in my mind, okay, what can I do to help in this situation? I'm not a deacon, I'm not a preacher, nor do I try to be or appear to be. So I ran in and got some tissue out the bathroom and I held it in my hand. And then one of the sisters in the church gave me a water bottle and I held that for him. So when they got done praying, I handed him the tissue and the water, right? So he can wipe his tears and everything. And then after the prayer session, he proceeds to say, man, I've been in jail for like 30 years. I just got out last year. I've been in the streets, I've murdered and I've been molested since I was a little kid. That messed my head up. And I just came from the liquor store. I walked by the church and something compelled me to just come in and get around God's people because I know that I can receive help in prayer. But he was like, I walked by 2 other churches before this one, and they kind of just dismissed me or didn't really see me, you know. And when he said that, y'all, man, I know what that feels like from my time in the Marine Corps and like, you know, issues that I was, you know, going through my retirement speech, right? So I felt that. Oh, I felt that. It to the point where I almost cried because I'm like, you just never know what somebody going through, but because they don't look a certain way, they don't act a certain way, you know, you just dismiss them and shoot them off, right? And these are supposed to be God's people, right? And churches are doing this stuff. So they broke my heart, the fact that this is the 3rd church he went to because he saw cars. He was like, so I finna just walk in. You know, some got to give, right? And I saw my brother-in-law get into action, and that unlocked a new level for me, seeing that because, again, you can talk the talk, but it's one thing to walk the walk, right? To be about the people, but really be for the people. I saw that firsthand in action. And I minded, but we was like, kind of like, what's going on? Like, this dude, like, you know what I'm saying? But we assess the situation and we determined, okay, no. It's discernment. They were like, no, he ain't no threat. He's really broken. And when he came exposed, just like, I need help. I'm hurting. He didn't hold back. He wasn't ashamed about nothing he did, nothing that had happened to him. And I appreciate that because more Black men need to be doing that. That wasn't a sign of weakness. That was a sign of strength right there. And it's crazy because if I was a licensed counselor, he'd have been my first client. I'm almost positive he'd have been my first client. It moved me that much. But I think God was there to show me, like, you sure this is what you want? This is what you're going to get into? You want the Black men. You want the young boys. This is what you're going to see and more. So it kind of like hit me like, oh, yeah, okay. I wasn't shy. I wasn't uncomfortable by no means. I was just embracing the moment. And I felt what he was feeling and never met that man a day of my life. But he was genuine, though. He was real. Yeah, he may have been, drunk at the time or alcoholic, but the fact that he was able to do that, and most sane people won't do that, sober people won't do that, like, that speaks a lot. So that definitely had an effect on me. And that just happened about 2 days ago. So yeah, I'm going to pursue this counseling thing to the fullest. And I'm going to go help any and everybody that I can. Because, and especially my Black men and boys, I'm telling you right now, I'm coming for you. Because it's not enough of us, one, in that profession of counseling. It's not enough of us seeking it as well. So I'm here to break all those barriers. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to start at August 18th at TSU. That's where it's going to start. So y'all continue to pray for me in my journey. Y'all continue to support me any way y'all can. You know, share my videos, like them, because I'm not stopping. I'm not finna stop. Okay? If this only get 2 likes or 2 views, is what it is, right? Because it's going to help somebody. All right? I'm just sharing my experiences because too often than not, we share the wrong experiences, right? Stuff that don't have no substance, stuff that have no lessons behind it, right? And yeah, maybe the stuff I'm talking about is not sexy or entertaining, but hey, everything in life is not always sexy or entertaining. So it is what it is. All right. I'm talking to who I'm talking to. So that's that. That's all I can give you. That's all I got. Okay. But those were definitely, it stuck out to me this month. Okay. And of course, this month was my 2-year anniversary of my retirement ceremony, right? I've been retired almost 2 years. So now I'm about to dive into full-time student for my master's, right? So yeah, it's a lot to ponder on, a lot to think about. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you, don't sleep on mercy and grace. It can get you out a lot, and it can get you into a lot, at the same time, right? So keep that in your toolbox, because everybody need it, especially yourself. All right. So that's my message for the month. All right. Now, of course, gotta do my promotions, right? Because it just wouldn't feel right. Intellectual power. Intellectualpower.net. Get it. Get the supplements. Come on. Let's get it. I'm still working on quantum psychology. Yeah, this is a doozy right here, but I'm still reading. I'm still working on this one, right? From recommendation from my boy, Big Bro Zoe Williams. All right. also his book, Zoe Williams, The Charlotte Lighthouse. I'm gonna get that work, get that self work. I'm telling you, you will thank yourself. I promise you, you will thank yourself. Nobody else might not thank you, but you will thank yourself for doing that self work. Okay. And my sis, big sis Zaza Ali, get the workbooks, ZazaAli.com. Let's get it. Okay. So more self work. All right. Everything is not for everybody else, right? Some things are for you to work on and you only. All right. You got to broadcast everything, but do that self work. So, so yeah. So yeah, like I always say, I love y'all for free. Okay. And at the end of the day, no matter what you take away from all this, whatever I can say or do or show you, I can help you, but I cannot save you. Okay. Until next time, my lovely people.